This is EntreEd Talk, the podcast for entrepreneurial educators by entrepreneurial educators. We are your hosts, Toi Hirschman and
Amber Ravenscroft. This podcast is created by the National Consortium for Entrepreneurship Education, or EntreEd for short.
Welcome back to another edition of EntreEd Talk. We are so excited to have you guys here today, and we are so excited to be talking with Brooke Tobia from High Tech High and with two students, Olivia and Avery. We are so excited. We love students to be on the podcast. So I'm going to introduce Brooke with over 10 years of experience in education. Brooke has been a constant leader in innovative practices. Within her career, Brooke has served as a math consultant, middle school math teacher, math coach, and math lead. Her practice of working within all levels, intervention through advanced math, is supported through the relevant methods of project-based learning, student digital portfolios, student-led conferences, and student-run businesses. Welcome, Brooke. Welcome, Olivia. Welcome, Avery. We're so excited to have you today, and we cannot wait to dive into this conversation.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
We're excited to be here.
This is fantastic. I just get goosebumps when I get to talk to students because it's so cool. Not that we aren't really happy to talk to you, Brooke, too.
No, I agree.
We just want to hear about everything you're doing. So I said your names, ladies, but why don't you tell us who you are and a little bit about what you like about school, maybe a little bit about what you're doing.
Hi, my name's Olivia, and one thing that I really, we're doing a project right now called How to Teach Us. It's a book on how to have teachers better connect with their students through just personalized learning.
What grade are you in?
I'm in 6th grade.
Okay, this is going to be fun.
Yeah. And then my name is Avery. I'm also in 6th grade, and something I like about doing project-based learning is that it's like a lot more hands-on, so it feels like stuff relates to more what we would do like in the real world.
Yeah, and it's Avery's birthday, everybody.
Birthday.
Yeah.
That's great. Great. And we get so excited when we hear students that are excited about school, because that is so awesome. So, well, as we dive in, Brooke, can you share a little bit about your career trajectory and what got you interested in math? I was also a math teacher when I switched careers, so I'm really interested in hearing about that and how you've grown as an educator since you began.
Yeah. Oh, I am super passionate about teaching math, especially teaching math to middle schoolers. I love it. It fills my heart every single day when I get the opportunity. I started about 13 years ago, knowing that I wanted to work with numbers and thought I wanted to be like a CPA or something like that, make lots of money. But then soon realized that it wasn't the math, it was the interaction with the students that I really loved through substitute teaching and stuff like that. And so then I got to work with students of all different levels in understanding math. And I just love challenging students who want more of a challenge. Just challenging students in general, just like that little step forward and building the confidence in students is really what gets me. Getting that growth mindset, that switch over. Sometimes that math has a negative connotation of, math class, but getting them excited about it is really what fuels me. And then I took a break when I had a couple kids. And during that time, I was a consultant and was able to go to different districts and help them with their intervention programs and get students to kind of think differently about math and how they viewed it and tackle things differently. And then I got to work at a school called Calavera Hills Middle School in Carlsbad right before this school. And it really opened my eyes to what education could be. It's a traditional public school, but I had a phenomenal leader there, Michael Ecker, who really opened my eyes to the power of Twitter and the connections of Twitter and really understanding like how I can just connect and talk to other people and get the help that I'm looking for, find those bright spots that I'm looking for in education, to kind of support and push back on that crazy thinking that I have. But it also just opened my eyes to that it can be done anywhere. Meaningful, relevant learning can be done anywhere, and in any situation. And so now being here at High Tech, I have been able to find a deeper understanding and appreciation for high quality PBL, and has really just helped me grow. All in all, I find out like my passion is really about taking and prototyping innovative practices in my classroom and then finding ways to scale them so like any teacher, any student can experience it and do it in their classrooms. And so that's kind of my drive and passion in life right now.
That's so awesome. You were bringing in uplifting Twitter is awesome, because I love how you called it the bright spots in this space, because I feel like that's kind of the goal of this podcast, is to uplift some of those bright spots and say that this can happen in any classroom. So I'm glad that you mentioned that, because that's a really great tool for people. I do want to dive in a little bit about the high-tech culture. And so I was wondering if you as a teacher could speak to that, while also maybe having the students talk about a day in the life of being a high-tech student. Brooke, maybe we'd start it off with the culture and then let Olivia and Avery kind of reflect on their day-to-day experiences.
Yeah, they definitely have like lots of great perspective on this. From my perspective, it's really student-centered, which is not to say that the other schools I have taught at aren't, but at high tech, it's really a lot of reflection, a lot of things, how are things going, let's adjust. It's a very nimble culture where things can change really quickly, which sometimes isn't always the case at other schools. It takes a long time to kind of stir the ship, but here it's, let's change it. That's not working. Let's do it again. Let's bounce some ideas off again. And then I would say that the main focus here is just really high quality PBL, which is, components like collaboration is huge. Critical thinking is huge, and really meaningful, like community connections is a really big part of our everyday conversation. So just making sure that we always at high tech is like the teachers are extremely collaborative. We're expected and encouraged and supported by all the teachers. You walk down the hallway, all the teachers is like, come on in. And then it's just like this normal thing. So we learn every day from each other, which is something I really appreciate. What is a day in the life for you guys?
So I know when I was first coming to the school, I was like, I don't know what it's going to be like. I had kind of looked up what project-based learning was, but I don't know, like the description wasn't very good. So I was not sure exactly what to expect. But then when I came here first, it was really fun because of, doing hands-on stuff more. Because I know at like typical schools, like I know that last year and that my friends who are going to like other schools, they are doing like 2 projects like at the end of the year, and then for the rest of the year it's just like worksheets and like nothing like important, I guess.
Okay, and then so what is it like here for you?
So
like what's a day like for you?
Here, so you get to hang out with your friends a little bit. We get to go inside and just hang out until we go to our advisories, and you just see your classroom. And the nice thing is that the classroom is really open. Like it's not that all the desks are like all separate. I know that the tables are big, so you have like partners that are there. So like you kind of like share the space, and you don't feel like separated.
Mm-hmm. Great. Olivia, what about your experiences?
I really like just the sense of community here, because that's like a really big thing that most of the teachers, and just like that's just a high-tech thing, is community. And it's because it is a smaller school. It's not that many kids. And so it really helps because everyone kind of knows everyone. If you need a hand, and you don't always have to ask someone that is maybe in one of your classes. You can always just ask someone else, and they can help you because you know them, and it's cool.
That's awesome. And then Brooke, I was wondering if maybe building on like their experiences a day in the life, how do you structure your classroom? And what is like what's it look like for you as an educator in that space?
Yeah, kind of to build on what Olivia was saying, I think the community aspect, just like I said, like we can enter and exit our classrooms at any time. And so the students feel like they are participants in the learning. They are equals in the learning experience. And so if they need something, they can go and just talk to a teacher and say, hey, we need this is important. That is taken as equally as if I was to come into the classroom and ask for the same thing, which is super important. And then our days, we split up our day. We have content time where I specifically teach math. We dig into math and really conceptually what it means. Right now, we're currently talking about what it means to turn a fraction into a decimal and like really the concept behind that. But that looks like it's very collaborative. ladies, you could step in if you wanted to too, but it's like standing up on whiteboards. We do daily board meetings where they're standing up and they're talking with their groups to kind of share their thinking and their process about it. And we make sure not to discourage anyone for sharing any ideas. We don't talk about like correctness necessarily. It's just like the thinking process behind it and explaining why it is and then seeing where we go from there. And I think that's a trend throughout all of our classes. Then we also have the latter part of the day. We take, depending on the week or where we are in our projects, we'll open up the walls because they open up and we have all 60 students at one time. And so then we'll do like our project time or we'll have whole class discussions and stuff like that. Sometimes we do that. This week we're doing it every day this week because we have lots going on. We need them to kind of switch things around, which is a really great benefit that we have here. We don't have bell schedule here. And so we're able to kind of manipulate the schedule a little bit, which is really helpful. But then other days it's like we do double content time. It's like, let's get in there. Let's really talk about this one. Let's continue this thought process on that. So,
yeah. And I like one small thing that you said was that you said like we start somewhere and just go off from there, which I think is especially cool at board meetings because when we're doing that, it's in the beginning of our day. And so when I start my day off, you can just throw an idea out there and just run with it. It doesn't matter if it's really crazy or anything. Like most of the time, the answers and how you get the answers are pretty crazy. So you kind of have to do that. But it's pretty cool that no one's going to say, oh, that's bad, or it's just free flowing. Like
there's not a formula in order to answer the same way.
Yeah, it's just any answer is okay. And you kind of have to, and you get to think outside the box, which is really fun.
Another thing I noticed about this school that's a bit different is that it seems like your teachers really care about you. They take time to make sure that like you're doing okay in class. And like I know Miss Tobia, she always like asks us like how was class. So she has these papers on the board that's like, I did good, I learned a lot, I did okay, I learned a little bit, I did not so good, I learned a small tiny bit, and then today was a waste of time. So we have to like hit which one we feel like is right on the way out of the door so that Miss Tobia can know if people enjoyed what we were learning about.
Oh my gosh.
We're gonna just cry. So.
I know. I gotta catch my breath for a second because it's just warming my heart. And at the same time, we know what the alternative is of your school. And, I just want to see all kids experience that. What Avery and Olivia are talking about is such an impact. The student feedback and actually asking students, how they felt about something so that you can change. And like you said, be nimble. And that seems simple and intuitive, but it doesn't happen very often. And I'm just so excited about this. And I'd love, Brooke, for you to share. Math is one of the subjects that we get a lot of frustration on when we're talking about bringing PBL and entrepreneurship and different things into that specific subject area because of all of the standards and criteria. So I wonder if you guys could share a little bit about how you did talk about how you have the content time and the project time, but how all that fits together and you're still able to get through fractions, decimals, quadratics, all this kind of stuff.
I just love, this is my favorite topic. I feel like there's just so many ways to blend it. I guess I just am open to looking at what I'd like to see the students learn at the end, what the goal is, and then be like, well, where does this apply? Where is this? Why do we have to learn this? And really truly asking myself that question, and then bringing that into the classroom, and especially knowing our students, it helps make it relevant to them, obviously, But our projects, there's been lots of things, and I think we'll talk about this in a bit, but our How to Teach Us project was a way that I was able to bring statistics and data analysis into the classroom, where students were talking about the averages and means and medians, modes, all that good stuff. And so that just organically came about because they had to figure that out if they were going to publish this book with this data. Also, projects that I've done is something like a legacy project I did at my other school, where we took a survey that was a normal survey that our school gave all the time. And instead of the teachers just going back into their offices and analyzing it on their own and thinking like, what are our next steps for students to feel, it was a climate survey. What are the steps that we should take to have students feel more safe or respected or whatever? let's just show the students the data and let's see what they think. And, we're talking about them here. So there's so many opportunities, I think, to just bring it into real life. We also have ran a business before where, honestly, in 6th grade math, it is just a layup. It's like, let's just talk fractions, decimals, percents all day long in a business. And so just kind of incorporating that, having space for think time and student discovery as far as how does this concept work? How do I change a fraction into a decimal, and letting them grapple with that, I have found has been way more beneficial to the student versus just showing them a step 1, 2, 3, this is how you do it. And so we have time for that in our class. That is our board meeting. It's like I put up a question like, what is this? What do you think about this? And they grapple with it. And together we get to the point where like, oh, I understand this is what a fraction is like and represented as a decimal. And then we take that same knowledge, we were doing this yesterday and talking about in our project, anytime you can just bring it in, like, this is what we're talking about. We said a third, remember we talked about this yesterday?
Yeah.
We can reduce our carbon footprint by 1/3, right? If we all stop drying our clothes. And 1/3, what is that as a decimal? What is that as a percent? And we were just talking about that earlier that morning. And so it was just really great to find those connections.
Yeah, I think we always really push for people to, especially educators, to think about the relevancy of what you're teaching. And I think it's easy sometimes to fall back and like, here's what I'm required to teach, and here's how I can teach that, rather than like thinking about the larger application. So I love that you uplifted that. I do want to ask, what's like parent perception of that kind of approach have you had any pushback from parents? Because I know that sometimes that's one of the biggest hurdles for us. I have a colleague who worked at a charter school that took like a really innovative approach to teaching. And the biggest pushback was parents were like, my kid doesn't have homework. My student, they don't have quizzes. How are we proving their learning? So I was wondering if you could talk to that.
I mean, do you guys have a parent perspective too?
Yeah.
What do your parents stay at home? Oh no.
My mom is actually like a teacher. She's a teacher at this independent study charter school where everything, well, it's in like a classroom, but everything, they have computers and it's all just online.
Okay.
So teachers are only there if you need help. So she thought that when she's been putting me in, like trying to get me into this school since like 2nd grade, I think, because of the project-based learning. And because she says that I'm like, I always like to work with like my hands. So she just thought it would help me as a student to just be a better learner.
And what is her perspective of how you are doing it this year?
She thinks it's pretty cool, honestly. When we were having one of our exhibitions, she was like looking around the classroom and seeing all the stuff that we've been doing. And she was just like in awe. And it was really cool seeing that she was proud of what I was doing. And it was cool that she liked like what we were doing at school.
Could you real quickly go over what the exhibition is for our listeners? I know that Toi and I are familiar with the structure, but could you just talk to the people listening about what an exhibition is?
So we have exhibitions. Most classes have their exhibition for a specific project that they're doing. Like the 7th graders did like an escape room, so they had an exhibition for that. And we had our How to Teach Us exhibition, where we took our empathy pieces from the book and like presented it to the parents and kind of gave them, and also other teachers at the school, told them how they would better like connect with their kids and their students. And we were kind of like, we were the teachers, which was cool. And we had like a mic and there was a stage and there was lights, like there was a spotlight and everything. And it was really, really cool. And we got to do like a mingling session where we would individually go up to the parents and they would ask us questions about the project. And then we would just tell them in our own words. And it was really all on the spot. So it was really organic and really cool.
Thank you. I think that's an important context for people that are listening to understand that as a best practice in this space. So thank you for debriefing on what that is.
I think exhibition is a great way to start if you're thinking about a project, thinking about how you would want to exhibit your work and making sure that is for an authentic audience. And so that's a really great way to start tackling that idea of like, how would I make this into a project? Well, like think about how can you exhibit it in a way that's really meaningful, that's going to impact whoever the audience is that you're trying to work to help.
It's an entrepreneurial process. Just that itself.
Yeah.
Avery, do you have your parents' perspective on the school?
So I was at the very beginning of the year. I was having so much fun, like just new project-based learning, and my parents were like, "Wait, are you actually learning anything? All this sounds like games." So they were a bit worried, but we did this thing at the beginning of the year where we had a teacher visit. So our teacher would visit our house or like a coffee shop or like a local park, then talk about it. Miss Tobia wasn't able to come, so I had a student helper teacher come, and it was really cool. And my parents were like, "Oh, all the stuff that you were talking about was what you were working on. You weren't just playing a bunch of games."
I think too, one thing that really has helped, and I think parents come to our school understanding that this is kind of how it works. But at the other schools that I worked at, one of the things that I found that is really helpful that support and the communication with parents and families was weekly newsletters. As simple as it sounds, just like telling them like, hey, these are the things that we're talking about. Here's some photos of the things that we're talking about, that we're doing in our class, products that are coming up. So weekly newsletters is a really great way to just kind of communicate. Also, like little video tutorials. Like, so we don't do grades. Instead, we talk about our growth and students' growth. So students create their digital portfolios talking about their growth over time. And instead, it's more about how have they grown this year, not kind of like where they're at as a grade level.
I think that's so powerful. That's so powerful.
Yeah, that's been really helpful. And so there hasn't been any negative response at all. I think just being communicative about what you're doing with the families at home. We also have an Instagram, which the class and I take photos and we document just what we're doing that day so parents can see like live what's happening. And so they can come home and say, hey, I saw pictures of this today. Tell me about it,
That's a really smart way of like tapping into the social media aspect because parents are on social. I often encourage teachers that we work with to get on Facebook, meet the parents where they are. Hi all, we are super excited to offer an exclusive discount for our listeners to attend this year's EntreEd Forum taking place on November 18th and 19th in Chattanooga, Tennessee. We have an incredible lineup of speakers and experiential learning opportunities to help you ignite entrepreneurial thinking and integrate entrepreneurship into your learning communities. Use promo code EntreEd Talk to receive 5% off of every individual registration. Again, that's promo code EntreEd Talk. To learn more about the forum and register, visit www.entre-ed.org today and subscribe for updates as we launch new things happening every week as part of the planning for the forum. Thanks. See you there. I want to talk about how to teach us because I feel like we've hinted at it, but I know that Olivia and Avery even had to write their own education philosophy to like join us as a guest. So I would love to debrief on, what is that project? And then maybe have both students kind of talk about, how do we teach you?
Yes. You girls take it away.
Our main point of how to teach us is teaching teachers how to teach their students. It's a mouthful, but
no, we're cool with it.
First, I guess what we did is we interviewed a bunch of different students at different schools, 6th through 9th grade, and we saw what characteristics they identified with. So we created like student characteristics, for example, shy, quiet, overthinker, outgoing, and we just asked them which one would you identify with. And then we asked a bunch of questions about different techniques in the classroom, like board meetings or daily agendas, peer editing. And then we got their opinion so we could start writing about what they said.
Yeah. So what she said, it's basically we're telling teachers and we're telling them what interests us. Because, if it's not going to interest you, then if you have more interest in a subject, you're going to take more time to do it, and you're going to take more time to make sure it's good and you're proud of it. So we want to show teachers this is how we learn, and this is, the book is just about how your students are just better learning in the classroom and how to better connect, like coming with the just better learning also just comes with connections and like the teachers like learn something more about their students. So it leads to other things, which is cool. And the book, it also I think teachers could also use it as a way to, or just it can inspire them to also just do other things with their students. They don't have to do everything by our book. I mean, that's kind of the whole point, to just think outside the box and personalize your students' learning, which is cool.
Yeah, so students got to collect data from all of the students that they interviewed, and we interviewed around 700 students in San Diego. And they collected data based on their characteristics, and then they found the averages. So students scored how does a shy student feel about collaboration, about group work, about reading out loud, things like that. And so the whole point is that that we wanted to help teachers think of a student that they might be struggling with to engage or connect with, and giving them tools and resources to say, hey, one, you can give your students this same survey that we have, because that's also available in the book. But two, just take a look at some tips that students all around San Diego said, if you're a shy student and you need to do group collaboration or group work in your classroom, then here's some tips on how you can make it better. And so kind of taking those practices that you do in your classroom every day and then kind of personalizing them for a specific student to kind of engage them better and think about them for a second. So it was really telling for me and for my teaching partner, because I partner up with a humanities teacher as well. And so we teach as a group. And so together we have 60 students all together. We were able to learn a lot about our students just from asking these questions. And then it was interesting hearing the perspective of a class clown and thinking, oh, wow, okay, I see that. And I feel like sometimes I was communicating with a student in a certain way when it really was something different. So it just really opened my eyes to a lot of different things. And like you said earlier, super simple things. Like, ladies, what did we find were the things that students really want and don't want?
A lot of students really hated assigned seating. I mean, I guess you could expect that, but it was really cool seeing that two students that were way different personalities or totally opposite ends of the spectrum would agree on the same thing and dislike assigned seating and enjoy computer work, which was cool.
The analysis of you guys learned so much just from even the math, tying it to the math perspective is so apparent to me how that makes sense. So that's awesome. Avery, what did you learn?
For more of the positive, we saw that students enjoyed student choice, computer work, and collaboration and daily agendas, because a lot of all the students pretty much said it's helpful for me to know what's coming, just to kind of plan my day, even if you don't use a planner, you'll still know what's happening.
Yeah, so simple things like that just became very apparent when we looked at the data. It's like, oh, well, yeah, that makes sense, and really students weren't asking for the one-sided PBL all the time, because in reality, they need that individual think time, that reflection time. That was very apparent in the data. And that made us think about in our own practice, I need to ensure that these students have this quiet think time, this space to just process things on their own and not get so overwhelmed, which a lot of times, especially in this environment, is hard to do, because we're let's go, let's collaborate, let's do project work. And just making sure that we take time for those and listen to their voice, so.
What a great idea. And I mean, the empathy and the understanding, I just can't, that just is so amazing. How did you come up with the idea to do the book?
Couple different processes, but really it's just driven from passions that we've had, myself and my teaching partner, Guy. We sat down and we did an activity called 50 Things, where you take 50 Post-its and you have 5 minutes just to brainstorm on if you could do anything in education and get your students to walk away with anything at the end of the year, what would it be? And literally we had a timer going and we just 50 Post-its, just go, not telling ourselves no. And then we chose a couple of those Post-its that we wanted to advocate for. So I said, I have always found it really important to ask the students of what they want to do and make sure that student voice is really apparent in the learning and understand the power of student voice, right? So I understand also that if we wanted to make change in education and make it really meaningful for students in all areas, we just need to ask them. We just need to have them tell educators, honestly, just like you guys, you want to hear from the students, right? And I think that is a similar feeling that a lot of educators have, like, have them talk to us more, but just the time and the space to do that sometimes is difficult. So this project just seemed like a really easy way to get their voice heard. And I'm just like super grateful for opportunities like this where they can talk about how they want to learn and what's important for students, just like they're representatives of the student body, with so many different students. So it's cool.
That's incredible. Oh my gosh, I wish this was happening more places. This is so wonderful. So we're coming near the end of our time, but students, ladies, Brooke, what advice might you give to an educator who's not in your situation or trying to get there, how to make learning more engaging and relevant for students? You've already given us a ton of ideas.
Yeah, we have like 80, but maybe like one final piece of advice from each of you.
A little nugget.
I would say just kind of try to interact with your students, and you're saying like ask them what they want to do. Like if they're struggling, like don't punish them or something. Just ask them, how do you want to fix this and how do you want my help to fix this? Because I want to support you. Just tell me what you need and I'll help you.
Yeah, I think, like she said, to just ask your students. Sure, you can buy the book, or sure you can, sure, if you want to buy the book, sure.
I want to buy the book.
Yes, great.
But just ask your students, because every kid is different. So just ask your students, maybe at the beginning of the year or whenever, just ask, oh, hey, how do you want to learn? And like encourage them to give you feedback, because, I know some students might not, they'll be embarrassed to talk to someone or like just give them a little critique. So at least just reassure them that it's okay and that it's just going to help them learn and the teacher as a whole. So,
yeah, I would just piggyback on that. Relationships is number one, hands down. I kind of made some switches in my teaching practice a couple years ago and really just put everything aside and made sure that relationships was the forefront and how I connected with my students. And I just, one, started enjoying my job so much more. Two, started connecting with the students so much more. And then that just directly correlated with the engagement that I had with the students in the classroom. So I knew what they liked. I check in with them, simple things like greeting them at the door is something I say, don't stop doing that. Just open the door for them and just say hi. It's an initial just check-in. How you doing? It might be the only time that you get to check in with them that day. And then just check in and talk to them. Take a minute. It is the most rewarding and the most beneficial thing that I can say to do is just get those relationships. Ask them what they're doing outside of school. If they have a soccer game or a play, like try to attend one. It goes a long way.
I love that. And I'm not surprised that they all are kind of very tied to each other in this idea of empathy. I'm not surprised at all, but I think it's really good for us to always have that context as listeners, as educators, just to kind of always keep that in mind. How can they learn more about how to teach us and maybe get access to that? Where can they go to find out more?
$10 on Amazon.
Actually, I think it's $12.95 or something.
I'm sorry. It's just $3 more. But it's Prime. It's on Prime too. So 2-day delivery.
That's wonderful. You can count me in. I'm definitely going to check it out, but that's great. And Brooke, how could also any educators that are listening connect with you directly to learn more about, you had mentioned Twitter, anything like that you'd like to uplift? Yeah. Also, your Instagram handle would be great to share. I think people would be really interested to see what you're doing.
Cool. Yeah. So Twitter, I think it's Tobia Brooke, by name backwards or flipped. Anytime, message me with anything. I can share you the 100% every single thing that we've done for the project, the rubrics, anything that you need. Also, we've done like teacher-less student-led conferences. So if that's something that you're interested in and want to get those conferences with teachers or with students, let me know. I would love to share everything that we have for that to make it really easy for you as an educator. And then you can follow our class at Tobia EDU. I think it is on Instagram. And so you can just see what we're doing and what we're up to, and feel free to message and ask students questions about what they've got going on. And I'm just really grateful for this opportunity. So thank you very much, both of you.
Oh, thank you. And thank you, ladies. This was great. I'm crying laughing from that, that awesome plug there. Our audience can't see it, but like her face was right on this. It was perfect. I wish they could have seen it.
That is Olivia on a daily basis.
Love it. Oh,
and I can tell you how impressive you both have been in terms of being on a podcast and being an interview. You guys have been one of the most concise, and we would do this all the time. We do this weekly, and you guys have just blown us away. So thank you both so much for joining Miss Tobia. I think it's been awesome to have you both on.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you. It was fun.
We don't believe that you're really in 6th grade.
Yeah, we were like,
Well, if you're ever in California, come visit us. We'd love to see you.
Yeah.
definitely. All right. Well, thank you all very much. You have a good day, okay?
You're welcome. See you later.
Bye.